And welcome back to AgriTalk. We've kind of gone back to school today, if you will, here at the Department of Education in our visit to Washington, D.C., wrapping up our travels here this week with the Missouri Farm Bureau. And again, our thanks to them for bringing us along on their trip, and thanks again to the Department of Education for hosting us. Well, we know how important good teachers are for our children, and we also know there's a challenge in attracting that next generation of teachers. We're going to talk about that with our next guest, Margaret Young, Special Assistant, Planning, Evaluation, and Policy Development here at the Department of Education. Margaret, thank you for joining us. Tell us about efforts to recruit that next generation of teachers.
Absolutely. I think we can all agree that teachers matter, and so our goal here is to ensure that every child has access to an effective teacher. And so a lot of the work over the next few years, especially as the baby boom generation goes into retirement, we know that there's going to be huge need across the country to prepare and recruit great teachers. So there are a couple of exciting things that we're working on, one of which is the Teach campaign. Out of the Department of Education that recruits teachers to high-needs schools, high-needs subjects, and high-needs geographic areas. So rural areas we know is one of the many areas of need across the country. And as part of our ESCA reauthorization proposal, we're also putting a lot of funds into the preparation of teachers. So we want to fund and support programs that are going to put out effective candidates that are ready to get into the classroom. And one thing that is particularly interesting, I think, for rural communities is the chance to do grow your own programs. So it's an opportunity to really keep great talent in the district. So partnering with community colleges and identifying those wonderful candidates that are, there in the district and high school, encouraging them to go into teaching and then come back and be able to give back to their own community.
Is that kind of like we've seen some communities do with doctors to try to keep them in their towns?
Yeah, exactly like that. We think that districts really know their needs the best. And so one way we're looking across preparation programs is trying to help refocus these programs on the needs that districts have. And we know that students a lot of times want to give back to their communities and might not know how the best way to do that. And so identifying these candidates early on and supporting them to get the training and come back to the community that they know and care deeply about is one great way to do that.
I guess first thing, you have to have people that really want to teach, and then it'll come down, where are they going to teach? I mean, there's the lifestyle issue, obviously. Some like it in rural America, others might want the bigger city, but are there good opportunities? I mean, the good paying jobs in rural America that will attract people there, or is it a tough competition with the bigger schools?
I think that it can be. I think one thing across the board that we want to do is really pay teachers like the professionals that they are, and I think that's a challenge across the country that in other countries, they call their teachers nation builders, and so really getting that respect for the profession and then compensating them commensurate with the important job that we know it is going to be important in all communities, and especially in rural areas. And one thing that we're looking at is what types of recruitment bonuses and stuff can you offer to teachers to really attract them to high needs communities, and rural being one of them.
Which I guess then also, though, gets into the challenge for school districts that are struggling financially. How do they attract? How can they pay, make it attractive for those teachers, good teachers, to come to their school?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the second part. So not only do we need to prepare and recruit these great teachers, but we need to retain them, advance them, and give them opportunities once they get there. So a couple of the programs that we're looking at as part of reauthorization, including the Teacher Pathway Program, would have opportunities embedded within them to support teachers in their development, offering them career advancement opportunities to become mentor teachers or to become leaders within their school. And it's all based on, the concept that we need to be rewarding teachers based on their effectiveness and based on the outcomes that they're achieving with students. So we need to shift the law. We need to look at measuring progress and growth of students, and then reward the teachers that are really doing an excellent job. Some of that is monetary, and some of that is giving them more opportunities to become involved in their school, identifying professional development opportunities that will help them grow. So
you're talking about performance-based here. I mean, where you're rewarding good performance by those teachers.
I think that's absolutely part of it. We think that evaluation feedback should include opportunities to really focus in on the needs that teachers have, but we also think that it's not fair to a professional to treat everyone the same. And teachers in their school recognize that there are things that they can grow at, and that's part of being a professional and part of wanting to take on those added responsibilities. And great teachers are there for the students, and they want to get as much information to those students as they possibly can.
Well, good teachers, I mean, I admire them. You have to have so many talents. Besides just knowing what you're talking about, just being able to deal with the classroom environment and all the situations that are involved there. I mean, we ask a lot of our teachers.
I think that's absolutely right. I think teaching, I taught for a few years. I come from a family of educators. My grandmother and my mother were both teachers, and it is, hands down the hardest thing I have ever done. I know that, when you are asked to be in front of those children every day to differentiate learning based on all their different needs, it's really incredibly challenging. And I think an important part of the work that we all do is figuring out how we can support teachers and help them get better and get out of the way to let them do their job really, really well.
Is it harder to recruit teachers in rural schools versus urban schools, or is it difficult at times and for both, or how do you compare the two?
I think it's everyone has their own unique challenges. We know that based on some preliminary data, there are obviously challenges recruiting teachers in urban areas. There are also challenges, especially in really remote and low-income rural areas as well. Two areas that we know are big drawers are teachers of English as a second language, foreign language teachers, as well as students with disabilities and teachers in the STEM subjects. Also, it's difficult, I think, in rural areas to get students access to advanced coursework. So Karen Cater, I know, spoke earlier about technology and, tapping into that, not only to offer students access to the advanced courses, but to offer professional development and access to experts for teachers so that they can grow and perfect their craft.
I know in areas, too, working with FFA over the years, there have been challenges in attracting, say, ag teachers. So you can get specific like that as well.
Exactly. We I think spoke earlier on this program about career and technical education, and so really identifying the needs of your community and attracting teachers to help prepare kids for their futures needs to be highly contextualized.
So again, how can school districts and communities get more involved and learn more about keeping people at home in their areas to teach?
Yeah, so I think Grow Your Own is an excellent program that people are looking more towards, and we, in reauthorization, hope to have funds to support that. There's also the Teacher Innovation Fund currently, which we are looking at moving forward as well, but I know that there are several communities, I'm probably going to butcher the name, but Chugach, Alaska has actually, it's a TIF grantee that has brought together a consortium of several small, really rural districts in Alaska around some of these performance measures, and are seeing really great results so far in using these performance bonuses to attract and retain great teachers in their schools.
Well, chances are no one there in that town in Alaska heard that, so whether you got it right or not, that won't bother them. Margaret, thank you very much. Good to hear about some of these efforts underway to attract that next generation of teachers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Margaret Young, Special Assistant, Planning, Evaluation, and Policy Development here at the Department of Education. That wraps it up for our program today and for our broadcast this week in Washington, D.C. Hope you enjoyed them. Back in studio tomorrow, right here on AgriTalk.